William Ruto is a prominent politician from Kenya.
Najua pia wewe hujui. Najua hata wewe bado unafikiria ati Ruto bado yuko Kotulo huko juu. Najua wapi unajua Ruto bado anaendelea kuinspect the Lapset Road ya Wajir ya Lamu Garissa Road. Najua unafikiria Ruto bado anaangalia ngamia zake ambaye alipewa jana 100 camels. My friend, Ruto sahi as we speak yuko South Africa. Na Ruto ameenda kukutana na viongozi wa mataifa mbalimbali kuweka uhusiano mzuri baina ya nchi hizi mbili, Kenya na hizo nchi kibiashara. Huko tu hapo naota eti Ruto bado ako Northeastern. Ruto bado yuko kwa Somali. My friend, Ruto ashamalizana na story ya Northeastern kitambo. Ashafululiza yuko in fact saa 6 leo mchana alikuwa South Africa. Na imagine wewe ujui. Wewe bado akili yako yote iko huko Northeastern. Unaona vile ujui hivyo? Hivyo ndio mtakuja kuamka mpate Ruto ameapishwa 2027. Hivyo tu.
This issue of president going to South Africa at this moment, you know, what I can say is that the president has studied the Kenyan people. And one thing he knows that one thing we have been credited with as Kenyans is that we forget so fast. If something comes, it overtakes the other. Remember, we had the fuel issue. So when the fuel issue came, it was the topic of the nation. It was causing uproar in every corner. Then all of a sudden, these people played a tricky game. They came up with an Ebola to wash away the fuel rush. Right now, nobody's talking about the fuel. Prices has not gone down. Nobody's talking about that. We are running after Ebola.
We're going to continue this conversation now, and I think it's important to place it in the context that it finds itself in, where South Africa right now has a difficult conversation to have with Kenya at the moment, particularly President William Ruto. President William Ruto was noticeably absent at the G20 African Heads of State Summit that took place on the eve of the G20 Heads of State Summit, and he surprisingly had not even sent a representative of any sort to fill in his position at the time.
South African president will next week host President William Ruto for a 3-day state visit aimed at strengthening diplomatic, trade and investment ties between South Africa and Kenya. The visit will be from June 3rd to June 5th, 2026.
President himself accepted that, yes, there is a scheme by the US government to put up a center for their citizens who have contracted Ebola in the Congo to be flown to Kenya. So this thing is causing a lot of questions. So for the president to move into this thing in a smart way, he creates a trip to South Africa, knowing that in Kenya you'll discuss something in 1, 2, 3. The 4th day it is going there. It is going down. We are picking on another thing, and that is what is affecting our country. That our country is always a proactive country instead of it is a reactive country instead of being a proactive one. So this thing is a scheme by the Ruto regime so that people forgo and don't stop discussing the issues affecting the common mwananchi, like the issue of Ebola. So Ruto is running away from the problem.
South Africa was initially seemingly, and the presidency didn't confirm this when put to him, but South Africa was invited to the G7 summit as a guest of France. France then, under pressure of by the US, uninvited South Africa, and in his place invited Kenya. Well, let me have this conversation with Professor Anthony van Nieuwkerk. Prof, it seems like there's a difficult conversation to have.
Yeah, it's an important visit. Let me start there. Look at the positives. Kenya is a very important player in East Africa. South Africa is a very important player in Southern Africa. We are neighbors in a way, neighboring regions. And I suspect on the agenda are 3 things. It's to restore and put more confidence on the bilateral relationship. There are issues that scratch, and hopefully they will be addressed. Whether they'll be sorted out, I doubt.
A disease like Ebola is not something to play with. It is something the government should take seriously. You saw how the CS Aden Duale was talking recklessly. And my question to the common man and the general public is that, can America allow Kenyan citizen with Ebola into an American territory? If you are screened today, you are supposed to travel to America, then you have been found that you have contracted Ebola. Will they allow you there? Another question is it so costly for America to airlift their citizen back to America and cheap in Kenya? Or does America lack space of building a rescue center or somewhere they can keep their citizens in America? So America is transferring Ebola to a weak country. We are exchanging people's lives with money. So this is a deal which has been signed and people are going to be affected. Ebola is a highly infectious disease. As a country right now, we don't have the capacity to deal with Ebola. Suppose it erupts in Kenya, what will the government do? People will die like chickens.
It is therefore within that context that we must interrogate the decision of William Ruto and his cabinet to allow the American Republic to set up an Ebola facility in Kenya to serve the interests of the Americans, to protect them from potential cases of Ebola that may have ended up in America. So in whose interest is he acting?
Ebola is a pandemic that is not confined to one place. And just for context, there has not been a single reported incident of Ebola in Kenya. Just for context. Yes. So the big debate is going on, but that is the correct position. Number two, the Ebola situation in Eastern DRC is a source of concern for any country, including Kenya, that is mindful of matters health of its citizens. And the responsible thing to do when there is reports of such high-level infectious outbreak in a region where we have thousands of citizens, Kenyan citizens in DRC. We have soldiers in DRC. The most responsible thing to do is to prepare for any eventuality. And that is what Kenya has done. We have prepared ourselves adequately. We have taken command of all our entry points. We are doing testing of every person coming into Kenya from anywhere near that region. We are testing close to between 2,000 and 3,000 people from all our entry points every day. We have mobilized resources, testing kits, reagents, and all manner of people. We have trained thousands of staff, health staff, to be able to handle that situation. We have now isolation facilities, 23 of them across the country, in different parts of the country.
You know, when he's saying that it's going to be built, whether I like it or not, it's like the president is just thumping. I saw him in Wajir when he had a press conference and was talking about this thing of the US, and he truly confirmed that they are doing it for the benefit of the US. What I can conclude here is that Ruto knows that we have an election in 2027. Election in Kenya has been narrowed to cash. So maybe he wants to look good in the eyes of the US so that he gets some funds, so that he use them for the campaigns.
If that facility is serving the interest of America, then they are acting contrary to their oath of office, which oath of office requires them to protect the interest of Kenya. The American president and their government is protecting the interest of Americans, which is okay. So also we must ask William Ruto, why are you not protecting the interest of Kenyans? whose interest is this facility serving. If it was about the Kenyan people's interest, it should have said Kenya has set up on its own facilities for quarantine and for treatment of people who may be suspected to have Ebola across the country. The so-called 1.7 billion that they are getting, 1.2 billion they are getting from the Americans, that is less than, it's only 3 trips to Azerbaijan. If going by public information that William Ruto spent 500 million for that trip to Azerbaijan, that is just 3 trips, and we'll have that money. So, whose interest is he serving? He is not serving the interest of the people of Kenya, and this may be called a constitutional coup. It is not about our people, and we must reject this thing.
One of the facilities that has now raised a bit of controversy is the facility we agreed to set up in conjunction with the Americans in one of our military air bases. And why have we done that? We have a huge American military contingent in Kenya, number one. Number two, we have set up the 23 other isolation places in Kenya with the support of friends, among them the Americans, our own resources, but also with the support of Americans. The American government has supported us in this Ebola setup infrastructure, health infrastructure, to the tune of 1.8 billion Kenya shillings. And they did make a request to us to, in the process of setting up all the other facilities, to also set up one where they can use in the event that their citizens, their soldiers, some of them in Kenya or from elsewhere, if they are in a situation, then they can use that facility. For context again, even if the Americans had not set up that facility at the military base, if there was any American in Kenya, we would take them to a Kenyan facility. We would not throw them out, because the Constitution of Kenya tells us that we are responsible for the health of the citizens of Kenya, including those who are in Kenya at any one time.
I believe Mark Rubio more than I believe William Ruto, because this information about the Ebola facility in Laikipia didn't come from the Kenyan government. It came from Mark Rubio from the beginning. It is the Americans who first went public in addressing their citizens, telling them what measures they have taken, that no single Ebola case will land in America. That was their commitment to their people. That is when they said those suspected cases will land in Kenya and not the United States of America. And we must accept, the moment they bring us patient here, or they set up a quarantine facility here, Kenya is going to face bans, travel bans. Kenyans are going to be isolated. You'll pass through Kenya and you are told you can't enter the country for 60 days or 70 days from the last contact to Kenya. Nobody is going to come to Kenya as a tourist. Who is going to tour in an Ebola-infested region? No one will do that. So this thing is exposing the whole country. It is not just that the 1.2 billion is worth anything. These people don't even think long term. If they had said they were setting up a facility to treat Kenyans, but here they are saying we are setting up a facility to quarantine Americans. Not that a Kenyan case has reported. We are going to look for those Americans who need to go to America. They come and be quarantined here to be treated. You in essence imported voluntarily and actively a disease into your country, and you expect other countries not to respond. They will respond. They will ban Kenyans. They will say you can't enter our country if you are from Kenya. You must wait for some time. Isolate before we can allow you in.
Believe it or not, in the Kenyan citizens, most of them think through their stomach, not to their brain. And what you have to know, when the stomach is full, the brain becomes empty, because the blood in the brain comes to the stomach to help the heavy work. So the brain becomes empty, and somebody with an empty brain cannot reason. So tuache kufikiria kwa tumbo, tufikirie na akili. So let us stop seeing what is coming through our stomach to be better than our future lives. So with him, he's just interested in the money which he's going to get from the US, maybe to finance his campaigns, because he's experiencing a loss. So he's fumbling everywhere. He can get some cash to come and bribe the voters and buy the voters. That is what I can conclude.
You know, people who may not have enough information to understand what we are doing. if we don't prepare and a situation occurs, we would have to answer much more difficult questions than the ones we are answering now. The questions we are answering now are simpler. They are easier. But if we were answering questions when people are sick and we haven't prepared enough, then we would be answering much more difficult questions. Where were you? What were you doing? What did you do? You knew there was a pandemic. You didn't do nothing. You know? What we are answering, the questions we are answering now is that we have prepared too much. And we have prepared for even our friends. And you see, I ask the people of my great country that the American people and government have been partners with us on matters health for close to 25, 30 years. PEPFAR and all the other funds. American resources, American taxpayers' resources have been used to support Kenyan health infrastructure. It would be most unfortunate if on one request by the Americans to set up a facility at their cost, we would refuse.
The selfish interest of William Ruto and his cabal is exposing the Kenyan people badly, and it's a threat to national interest. Thank you.
About experts, Duale initially was Minister for Defense. The same Duale was transferred to Environment. Right now, Duale is Minister of CS for Health. So you want to tell me that Duale is an expert in defense, an expert in environment, an expert in health? Meaning Duale is handling a ministry which he does not have any knowledge. That is where we messed up. These people, you hear that there is parliamentary vetting, which is doing a zero work. How can the parliament vet somebody to be a minister of defense? Then he passes, meaning he has basic knowledge in defense. The same person is being vetted as a minister for environment. The same one is now minister for CS for health. Meaning we have people who are being given those things due to their political alienation. They are being gifted due to the part they are supporting. So that is it. So Duale, I don't want to talk about him that much, but one thing I know about Duale, he has got no knowledge in health. He has got the least knowledge in health.
So the debate here is not about whether to set it up or not. The debate is, are we doing the right thing? Are we not? And I can tell you without fear of any contradiction, and I can look at everybody in the eye, Kenyan, including yourself, and tell you we are doing the right thing.